who does Trump really want in his corner? The Saudis or the Israelis? He wants the Saudis. Saudis have more money. He can build a Trump Tower in Riyadh. The Saudis have given $2 billion to Kushner for his private equity fund. The Saudis are his kind of people. He's an authoritarian, MBS, but they promised to invest in the United States. It's a whole big thing. You bet that in Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, the Saudis will say, we're going to invest $1 trillion in the United States over the next 10 years because of Trump. I bet you that's what they say. He likes the Saudis. He doesn't like the Israelis. The Israelis are kind of pushy. They're focused on their own self-interest. Don't have a lot of money. Not like the kind of money the Saudis have. He's not going to build a Trump Tower in Tel Aviv. There's no... in his first term, he had Jared Kushner there, who I think is genuinely very pro-Israel. There's nobody around him who's genuinely pro-Israel. So he is much more likely to support Saudis. Oh, and finally, of course, Saudis have oil. And one of Trump's promises was gasoline prices coming down. The Saudis control that. They've driven oil prices down. They've increased supply as demand has shrunk. And gas prices are down, no question. Trump fulfilled his promise. Oil companies in America are not that happy about it, but gasoline prices are down because of the Saudis. So he loves the Saudis. He wants a good relationship there. Why do the Saudis need nukes? They don't need nukes. The Saudis want civilian nuclear power. Saudis are planning ahead for the day where either they run out of oil, at some point they will, or the world demand for oil has gone down a lot. They would like to diversify their economy. As part of that, they would like to diversify their energy sources. Now, you'd think in Saudi Arabia, of all places, they would go all in on solar. It's always sunny in Saudi Arabia. Much more sunny than Southern California. So you would think they'd go all in on solar panels, but the Saudis are too smart. They know where reliable energy comes from, and that's nuclear energy. They're also very ambitious. So this is a shift to the Saudi section. Saudis are very ambitious. They would like to create, they're building all these crazy cities. They would like to create a tech Silicon Valley in Saudi Arabia. They don't understand that you need freedom for that, something they don't quite allow. They want to become a major hub. It's still true that 60% of their economy or the revenues for the Saudi government come from oil. The rest, I think, these days, Saudi Arabia has become this tourist hub. It's a big tourist place, a lot of beautiful resorts on the Red Sea. And so Saudi Arabia has become a big touristy place. But they would like to diversify it. They would like to have more tech, primarily. And they're building this very long city. Have you heard about this long city from the Red Sea into the desert? And they think that the easiest way to power all these ambitions is going to be nuclear, right? Going to be nuclear. So that's why they want nuclear energy. Now, I think they also realize that if they have a nuclear power plant, if they build a nuclear power plant, they might gain the knowledge, the skills to one day build a nuclear bomb, because they're afraid of the Iranians getting a bomb. And they want to make sure that they have a bomb as well one day. And I think this is a little step in that direction of Saudi Arabia getting a bomb, ultimately getting an actual nuke. They would claim to protect themselves from the Iranians, but also they would love to have a nuke to hang over the Israelis, right? The Israelis have nukes. So it appears Trump is going to sign a civil nuclear agreement on his visit. Yeah, the long city is called Neom, something like that. Not sure exactly. All right. So, we will see. I mean, what they would like, I think, is to be able to enrich in uranium so that one day they would be able to build the bomb. Now, Saudi's interesting because Saudi Arabia is going through this process of change. On the one hand, it remains a monarchy. It remains a place where all the power is concentrated in the hands of, right now, one person, the crown prince, the number two in the kingdom. The king is old and does not exert much power. The real power is with Mohammed bin Salman, MBS for short, who basically runs the kingdom. Now, when he was young and brash, 10 years ago, he did things like, slaughter a journalist in Turkey, basically having his people rip him to shreds. He started a war in Yemen with the Houthis, who we're now familiar with. And he was very, aggressive. And maybe he needed to be so, given the power structure in Saudi Arabia, in order to, establish his control. But today, he basically controls the entire country. And he is very much focused on trying to diversify its economy and trying to make it ultimately a technology leader. I think Trump is also going to teach them how to do meme coins. I mean, it's free money, meme coins. You just put out a meme and it goes up in value and you sell and you become a gazillionaire. Now, as part of this, right, MBS has liberalized his country somewhat. Like women, not that long ago, were not allowed to drive, could not travel, could not leave the home without a male companion. A lot of that has gone away. Women can drive now. They can travel alone. You go to Saudi Arabia, and I've seen pictures. I haven't been there, where women are hanging out, and it's moving in the right kind of direction. There's still an absolute prohibition on criticizing the monarchy. There's still an absolute prohibition on criticizing Islam. There's an absolute prohibition on being an atheist, but it's a little bit more liberalized. And if you think about the fact that in the days, after 9/11 or before 9/11, Saudi Arabia was the largest funder in the world of Islamism. It was establishing schools all over the world on radical Islam, on Wahhabism, on the worst kind of jihadism. In Pakistan, in Europe, in Afghanistan, they funded Al-Qaeda, they funded the Taliban, they funded the madrasas in Pakistan. A lot of that has gone away. A lot of that on MBS has gone away. Indeed, the Wahhabis who used to share power in Saudi Arabia with the Saud family have been marginalized. And, he seems to be making an attempt to, I wouldn't say secularize, but move away from an extreme, some could say consistent, but an extreme interpretation of Islam. It seems like he's trying to move towards, call it moderate Islamic view, like some more secular countries around the Middle East. But that's a big change for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia used to be Sharia law, executions in public, stoning, cutting off hands. A lot less of that. Or if it's done quietly. He's also trying to establish Saudi Arabia as a voice for peace. He's considering relations with Israel. They were helpful for the cause of preserving Hamas or whatever. But they're supposedly helpful in some of the Gaza stuff. They helped Syria's new government. They're trying to be a leader in the Arab world. And they're trying to improve their relations with the Western world and trying to get Western investments, Western business, and everything else while they're doing all of this. Women, for example, now are part of the workforce. They're part of the labor market, which didn't exist in the past, which is a big step forward. So it's going to be interesting. You can now go watch movies in Saudi Arabia. You can watch rock or pop concerts in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't do that a few years ago. So slow movement in that direction. They're building Neom. Neom is going to be the size of 20 Empire State Buildings laid out, along a line. It's going to cost $900 billion. Probably more than that. So here's this thing, though. Saudi Arabia is in debt. And it can't finance the building of a Neom and all the other ambitious projects it has when oil prices are at 61. It's really struggling. It's got a lot of debt. It's got financial issues. It's still got this cash cow, the oil, but it's overly dependent on it, and at $61 a barrel, it just doesn't pay for everything MBS wants to do. He needs oil at somewhere like 92. But what Saudi Arabia has discovered is it can't get that price if it limits supply. If it tells OPEC to limit supply, OPEC members cheat and they take market share from the Saudis. So now they've opened the spigots and they're selling in world markets. I think their attempt is to drive a lot of the U.S. production offline, so prices will increase. And I think they're patient now and waiting for the world economy to recover. He'd like a deal with Trump. He'd like to be able to develop nuclear programs, but he needs another source of revenue other than oil, and he can't afford to throw money away at the rate he is, or to invest. I guess some of it's investment, a lot of it's white elephants. He needs to liberalize the economy. He needs to figure out how to let private entrepreneurs do the work. He needs to learn from the lessons of history about capitalism. Saudi Arabia is very centrally planned as a consequence. Really, I think it's not in financial trouble yet, but at the rate it's going to be in financial trouble.